The story began in one of the city's oldest shelters, a weather-beaten structure that looked like it was one cracked tile away from collapsing in on itself. But today, a surprising sight greeted its creaking doors. A large delivery truck rumbled to a halt nearby, its engine humming with purpose. Just as the dusty air settled, a crisp notification chimed in Dave's system interface. Push plus 1,000 merit points. Good deeds recognized. Movers emerged from the back of the truck like clockwork soldiers, hauling large boxes stacked with supplies. They marched straight into the shelter, their arms weighed down with generosity. Watching them, the shelter's director, a tired man with crow's feet carved by worry, approached Dave with a look of sheer relief. "You saved us," he said, placing a hand on Dave's shoulder. "Without your help, we'd have shut down this week." Dave just smiled, calm, collected, a touch of mischief in his eyes. "No need to thank me. I do it from the heart," he replied, waving it off like he was brushing away praise that clung too eagerly. Ding. Plus 1,000 merit points. Humility detected. As the boxes disappeared into the building, Dave made sure his belongings were all accounted for. With a last look over his shoulder, he strolled away from the shelter. Another message popped up. Total merit points, 12,043,820. Available balance 0. He whistled quietly. All that merit and not even a sandwich to show for it. He wandered the city streets, hands tucked in his pockets, head full of half-silent memories. No home, no car. Parents? Gone. The kind of backstory that would have made a good tragic prologue if it weren't his real life. Eventually, he reached a gated residential complex. At the checkpoint stood a familiar face. Officer Darnell, the kind of guy who somehow always had the same coffee cup and the same joke ready. "Doing God's work again?" Darnell asked with a grin, pressing the gate button. Dave nodded. "Just following my parents' last wish." In truth, it was more complicated than that. Dave was bonded to a system, a mysterious, ever-watching AI that awarded merit points based on good deeds. A digital karma ledger if karma had a UI and pop-ups. Inside the apartment, it hit him. This place, it still felt like home. A photo frame sat on the table, him smiling awkwardly beside his parents. He picked it up and sighed. "It's been 2 years," he whispered. "You left the system and left me with it." Outside, unnoticed by the ordinary eye, a blood-red moon crept up the horizon, bathing the skyline in ominous crimson light. Whispers, low, guttural, and unsettling, danced on the wind. Something ancient was stirring. Back inside, Dave sat by the window, lost in thought. 2 years of nonstop good deeds, 12 million points, 0 balance. What was the point of earning if you couldn't use them? He reached for his glass and froze. The water had turned red, thick, metallic. Blood? He jumped back, knocking the chair over, the glass shattering as it hit the floor. His eyes widened in horror. The crimson glow outside intensified, casting the entire room in a haunting hue. Ding! System notice. You have qualified as a reversal sin player. Instance 1 unlocks in his stomach dropped. Reversal sin player? What the hell was that? Looking down, he realized the floor was no longer beige tile. It was red. Deep, liquid red. Kneeling down, he touched it. His fingers came up wet. "This better be one messed up illusion," he muttered. The world around him flickered. His vision stuttered like a glitched-out video game. Code distortion? No, reality itself felt unstable. Then above him, a yellow glow ignited. The flickering stopped. New plugin detected, integrated into real sacrifice system. Control system unlocked. Available balance, 12,043,820 merit points. Dave's pulse spiked. The balance was unlocked? Why now? Don't panic, he reminded himself. Panic is the luxury of people not covered in metaphorical blood. System, he asked aloud, is the game invite still active? You have access to your mail inbox. His heart sank. That meant the countdown was real. He had no way out. Snatching his phone, he searched Real Sacrifice Game. First result, a warning. If you received an invitation, visit the archived site immediately. If you heard about the game through someone else, contact them now. The website was no less unsettling. It confirmed the game's long existence and left a chilling disclaimer. And then came the catch. Success, however, brought rewards, abilities, treasures, even the fulfillment of your deepest desires. Dave leaned back, exhaling slowly. Monsters, blood moons, survival games with real consequences, and yet there was something oddly compelling about it. He was already in, and maybe, just maybe, there was something worth discovering. All right, he muttered, let's see what this plugin can do. Because at this point, the only plan that mattered was to stay alive. After the system announcement, Dave quickly gathered his composure. No time to panic now, not when he'd apparently just been drafted into a weekly death game. He moved with precision, slipping into a sleek, smart suit he had prepped in advance, reinforced with thermal insulation and reactive fabric. He stood before his supplies, eyeing them with the critical gaze of someone about to be evicted from reality. But just as he reached for the bag of food, a flicker of distortion rippled through the air like a broken hologram. Then came the pull. It was subtle at first, a light pressure on his chest. But within seconds, that pressure turned into a gravitational wrench, like a black hole had opened up right in his living room. And then, weightlessness. The world spun as if he were being flipped upside down in zero gravity, limbs suspended in a void. "Are you kidding me?" Dave shouted into the darkness. "A 15-minute warning would have been nice." Dave blinked. He was seated at a wooden table in what looked like a Victorian-era study room, warm candlelight flickering across carved shelves. Around the table sat 5 others. To his right, an old man quivered like a leaf in a storm. On his left, a white-haired girl sat with composed unease. Across from him, a bespectacled woman with an analytical look, a young man barely older than a high schooler, and a stern-looking middle-aged man who radiated veteran energy. The old man suddenly gasped and toppled from his chair with a thud. Instinctively, Dave jumped to his feet and rushed to help, steadying him by the arm. "You all right, sir?" he asked. Concern etched across his face. Before the old man could respond, the middle-aged man tapped the table twice with his fingers, sharp, deliberate, and commanding. Attention snapped to him. "First-timers?" the man asked, voice gravely, eyes scanning the group. The woman with glasses raised a hand slowly. "Wait, you've done this before? Is everything on the site true?" Christopher, as the man soon introduced himself, gave a humorless chuckle. "The site undersells it. If you're registered as real sacrifice players, get used to this. It's weekly. Every damn week." The shock rippled through the room. Amanda, the bespectacled woman, looked visibly shaken. The younger boy, Josh, shifted in his seat. The white-haired girl remained eerily quiet. Only the old man whimpered softly, as if hoping this was still a bad dream. Christopher's demeanor darkened. This isn't a hobby game. It's not some haunted escape room for bored teens. It's real. You'll play every week, until you die. Dave leaned back, half expecting a dramatic thunderclap. At first, he thought Christopher was simply trying to scare them. But no, the guy radiated genuine battle fatigue, like a man who'd seen too much and lived too long through it. That meant information. Useful, hard-won information. "Wow," Dave said, clapping softly. "A strong guy like you must have figured out some great survival tricks, right? Share the cheat codes with us low-level noobs?" Christopher smirked at the sarcasm but played along. "First tip, mind your own business. You're not here to be a hero. Your life is your priority, no one else's. Second, forget common sense. This game doesn't operate by it. You'll see ghosts, demons, entities that don't even have names. Some rules will save your life. Others, break them and you'll die faster than a tutorial speedrun." Dave frowned. The site had mentioned mutable rules, implying that some had to be broken. Now he didn't know what to believe. At that moment, the white-haired girl finally spoke up. "My name's Alice. I just got a notification. The newbie shop is locked. Anyone else?" Amanda nodded. "Same here." Josh raised his hand. "Yep. Got that too." Christopher groaned. "Then open the damn notification. Read. Always read before whining." They opened it. The message was clear. To access the shop, they needed achievement points, which could only be earned after clearing the first round. Josh squinted. "Wait, then why have a shop at all? It's empty." Before Christopher could respond, the old man shuffled forward, holding a pair of glasses like they were ancient treasure. "Can we trade these for something? Money, maybe?" Christopher stared at him blankly for a second before laughing. "You have imagination. I'll give you that. But no, glasses won't get you anything here. You'll need achievement points. Those are the real currency, and you can only trade them for artifacts, spiritual ones, powerful ones." Dave's eyes lit up as the system whispered sweet numbers in his head. Exchange rate. 1 virtue point equal 10 achievement points. He almost bit his lip in excitement. 12 million points. That was 120 million achievement points. Wealth, power, potential. Suddenly, the game didn't just look deadly, it looked promising. He whispered to the system, "Open beginner's shop." A shimmering panel unfolded in his vision. Basic poison, mind-clearing potion, invisibility talisman, basic healing salve, demon suppression charm, and one surprisingly fluffy-looking white tiger cub. With a grin, Dave exchanged just 10,000 merit points. A modest dent for a massive payout. Achievement points received, 100,000, and he bought everything. While the others debated their lack of funds, Dave's inventory was already full. But outside, in a forgotten temple cloaked in shadows, something stirred. Demonic voices hummed a haunting lullaby, the melody of an impending ghostly wedding. A pair of lanterns blazed to life at the temple's threshold. Amanda froze. Josh turned pale. What is that singing? Christopher didn't even flinch. He slammed the table with his palm. Silence. It's starting. Meanwhile, inside a shadow-drenched temple high in the fog-choked mountains, a girl in a crimson wedding dress sat in solemn silence. Her eyes were downcast, her skin pale as wax. Candles lined the temple, their flames flickering with a ghostly chill. Red wax bled down their sides like tears. All around her, spectral whispers echoed. The red wax has melted. The bride and her devotee shall not return. At that very moment, a translucent notification shimmered above the heads of every player at the banquet table. Special event, ghost wedding initiated. Objective, survive until the wedding ends. Location, mountain shrine. No sooner had the message appeared than the world twisted again. Gone was the dim-lit study room. The players now found themselves seated in the middle of an extravagant banquet hall, richly decorated, unnervingly silent. It should have been opulent, but something was deeply wrong. The guests around them were numerous, packed shoulder to shoulder, yet none of them looked human. Their faces were blank masks of horror, eyes hollow and black, or an unnatural soulless white. And then there were the smiles, wide, crooked, hungry. Alice turned slowly, trying not to panic. Behind her, at another table, a group of guests were tearing chunks of meat from the bones like starved animals. Their mouths chewed wildly, noisily, as if this was the last supper before execution. She turned to Christopher in horror. What's wrong with them? He didn't even blink. Don't ask questions you don't want answered, he said flatly. Curiosity gets you killed in here. Before they could process that delightful nugget of wisdom, a hunched old guest approached Dave and the trembling elder beside him. The guest's presence felt wrong. Cold, heavy, dead. He loomed over them, his breath like frost on their skin. Why? The man asked slowly. Have our dear guests not touched their chopsticks? A chill ran down Dave's spine. It was like a corpse had decided to come back for one last conversation. Amanda panicked. Christopher, what do we do? Tell us. He didn't even glance at her. Ignore him, but just ignore him. The ghostly host continued, voice now layered with menace. On such a beautiful occasion, would you disgrace us with your rudeness? He clapped his withered hands. Pour the guests some wine. The crowd obeyed instantly, eerie in their coordination. They moved as if puppeted by a single will. Every player's place was surrounded. Cups filled with crimson liquid were pressed into their hands. Platters of food glistened, aromatic and perfectly arranged. Too perfect. Dave's instincts screamed. Everything on this table reeked of death. The guests themselves looked emaciated, pale, drained. And yet they moved with a disturbing liveliness. He locked eyes with two women holding a cup and chopsticks before him. Please, they cooed in unison. Allow us to feed you. He clamped his lips shut. No thank you. He hadn't spent years earning merit points just to be poisoned by demon waitstaff. Around him, the others weren't so composed. The guests had surrounded each of them, wine and food ready. The old man sitting nearby glanced down at two small children, their eyes far too wide, smiles too sharp. His voice trembled. All right, I'll drink it. He took the cup, lifted it with shaking hands, and downed the liquid in one desperate gulp. There, I drank it, he said, offering them the empty cup like a bribe to death. The change was immediate. His eyes bulged. A lump rose in his throat. He gasped, clawing at his neck as foam gathered at the corners of his mouth. His skin darkened, veins popped in his face, and he crumpled to the floor in violent spasms. The ghostly guests chuckled and clapped softly. One whispered, so eager, so drunk. How will he last through the banquet? Dave and Alice leapt to their feet. The girl knelt beside the man, examining him. His pupils are blown, veins darkened. It's poison, fast and lethal. Dave was already thinking ahead. If one sip had that effect, everything here was laced. That meant ding. Special solo mission, protect the players. Reward, merit points upon completion. This mission is exclusive to you. Dave looked around. No one else received the alert. Of course, he was the chosen errand boy today. Amanda, nearly in tears, grabbed Christopher by the collar. We have to help him. Christopher scowled and shoved her away. He was warned. Sit still and shut up. Saving him might get us all killed. Then you save him, she screamed. Save him yourself, Christopher growled, turning away. Dave stepped forward, his voice steady and sharp. I will. He pulled a small vial from his inner pocket, a glowing purple pill, faintly humming with energy. A mind-clearing tonic from the beginner shop. He'd almost dismissed it earlier as sugar-coated snake oil. Good thing he was a cautious hoarder. He crouched, slipped the pill into the choking man's mouth, and held his jaw shut. The glow intensified as the pill dissolved. Christopher's eyes widened. Where? Where did you get that? The old man's spasms slowed. Color returned to his cheeks. The black veins shrank. He gasped for breath, precious, clean breath, and looked up at Dave with disbelief. You saved me, he whispered hoarsely. I'd have died without you. Dave helped him sit upright and smiled gently. Try not to die so easily next time. Special mission complete, 7,777 merit points earned. Amanda blinked in disbelief. You actually cured him. Dave didn't respond. His eyes were scanning the room again. The candles had begun to melt faster. The bride was still waiting. The wedding was still ongoing. And this was only the first course. A grin tugged at the corner of Dave's mouth. As he'd hoped, the system was still generous with its points when a life was saved. Well, at least someone around here knows how to say thank you. But before he could bask in that small victory, a new notification floated into view. Quest update. Ghost wedding in the mountains. Active objectives. 1. Survive until the end of the wedding. 2. Find and rescue the bride. 3. Steal the Three Rivers ghost statue. 4. Uncover the truth behind the wedding. A multi-part mission, Dave thought, eyes narrowing. That explained the strange pacing. Survive first. But the bigger rewards were clearly tied to the side quests. The system didn't give away fortunes for sitting still. While these thoughts passed through his head, Dave gently helped the old man sit at one of the long-abandoned tables nearby. The color was returning to his cheeks, though he still looked like he'd just been yanked back from the gates of hell. Dave's eyes flicked to his inventory. He had enough supplies, but not enough reach. If he could somehow expand the store access, maybe even unlock rarer items, it would give them a serious edge. Worth the grind, he mused. Where did everyone go? Alice's voice broke the silence. She was standing near the now eerily empty tables, frowning. The others looked around, confused. The banquet hall that had been filled with ghostly guests just minutes ago was now abandoned. Dave stepped up beside her and poked one of the plates still sitting on the table. Looks like the wedding party ghosted us. Maybe they got stage fright when they realized we could fight back. Or maybe, Christopher said darkly from the far end, they're setting a trap. Josh suddenly pushed his chair back. We can't just sit here and wait to get picked off. I'm going to look for a way out. No, you're not, Christopher barked, springing to his feet and chasing after him. He grabbed Josh by the collar just as the kid reached the massive, ornate doors and yanked him back. You think you're a hero? You'll get all of us killed. Maybe, Dave interjected, voice calm but firm. Josh is right. That earned a glare from Christopher. Dave continued. The villagers, if we can call them that, are clearly hostile. Waiting here to become the next item on their menu isn't exactly a winning strategy. We have no leads, Christopher snapped. No idea what's out there. You want to walk into a trap? A smile returned to Dave's face. Not exactly. We have someone who might help. Alice and Amanda looked confused. Who? They both asked in unison. Dave gestured toward the temple outside the hall. The bride. The ghost bride? Christopher raised an eyebrow. You mean the literal centerpiece of this death party? She might be a victim, not the villain, Dave said. Why else would she need rescuing in the system's quest log? Or, Christopher muttered, she is the trap. You can stay here if you want. But I'm going. I'm coming with you, Josh said immediately. Alice hesitated. Dave was being far too decisive, and for a supposed newcomer, he knew a lot more than he let on. Still, her instincts told her to follow. I'm in, she said. The old man rose as well, clearly eager to repay his debt, but Dave stopped him. You need rest. Sit this one out. We'll come back soon. Amanda, trembling slightly, looked between them and the door. I'll stay. With Christopher. Dave nodded and turned to the older man. Look after them. If something happens, call me through the system. Christopher gave a short grunt, as if agreeing more out of obligation than trust. The trio moved quickly through the misty courtyard to the temple steps. The air grew colder with every step. Dave pushed open the carved wooden doors, revealing the inner sanctum. There, beneath a veil of crimson silk and silence, sat the bride. She wore a red wedding hanfu, intricate embroidery, long trailing sleeves, and a phoenix headdress that glittered dully in the candlelight. Flanking her were two tall figures in matching red ceremonial robes. But their faces weren't human. Guards? Josh asked, voice low. Figurines, Dave replied. They're not alive. They're just dressed up. The room felt wrong, like the air itself was watching. Well, he muttered, wouldn't be called a ghost wedding if the guests weren't ghosts. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small white tiger figurine, a token he had purchased earlier. Approaching slowly, he held it out toward the silent bride. Miss, he said gently, my name is Dave. We're uninvited guests who stumbled into your ceremony. If you want to leave, we can help. But we need your help too. No answer. No reaction. Dave took another step forward, then reached out, and in one swift motion, pulled back the red silk hood covering her face. The silence turned to ice. Beneath the hood was not a woman at all, but a painted paper effigy, a life-size stand-in, a doll. The three of them stepped back instinctively. Josh's face paled. She's not real. Alice narrowed her eyes. Why were you so sure the bride existed in the first place? Dave blinked at her. He hadn't expected that. I mean, she continued, you're new to the game, right? How did you know about the rescue quest before anyone else? You seem to know more than you should. Before he could answer, the system chimed again. New objective unlocked. Locate bride Bella. Bella, a human name. Dave frowned. So the real bride is missing. This thing is just a placeholder. But why? Alice asked, now moving toward the paper figure, inspecting the surroundings. Why use a fake? Because someone doesn't want us to find the real one, Dave muttered. Alice, now thoroughly engaged, began searching the room with methodical precision. She checked every cabinet, every drawer, and every suspicious shadow. Eventually, she tapped the wooden bed frame behind the effigy and heard a hollow sound. Dave, she called. Here, the center of the bed. It's hollow. Dave joined her immediately. As he knelt beside her, a thought crept into his mind. When the old man had been poisoned, Alice was the first to diagnose it. And now she had found the hidden compartment. Smart. Sharp. Too sharp for someone who claimed to be scared earlier. He glanced at her from the corner of his eye. Who exactly are you, Alice?